I can't shake this really fucked up feeling of like, where you want to throw up and poop at the same time. Because you're like, everything's going to go. I'm Ricki Sanchez. I am the creator and host of 20 Somethings Doing Nothing podcast and the co-host of the Woody and Jim show in Nashville. This is my little story about the day my ego died, or kind of like ego died and also figure out your life because nothing's making sense anymore. I started in radio in college by random. My RA at the time, she walked up to all of us at our orientation and said, if any of you guys are interested in getting into radio, I'm the president of the radio station here, so just let me know. I'm in New York City at this time, which isn't too far from where I grew up in New Jersey, and I often spent a lot of time in New York City, but this is a totally different college and an entirely different environment that I knew nothing about. So I was like, you know what? Why not start getting into radio? Let's see if I can make some friends that way, because making friends as an adult is not that easy. Went up to her and I asked her if there were any slots available, how I would get into it, what I got to do. She said, I got one slot left, girlfriend. Do you want it? And I said, sure, why not? We're diving in head first. At this time, I still had no idea what I actually wanted to do with my life. I had an associate's degree in journalism. And even though I loved writing, there was something that was still kind of missing. So I figured, let's try radio. Same kind of idea, just slightly different. And I loved it. I absolutely fell in love with it. Doing my own show was amazing. I thought it was fantastic. I was like, yes, this is it. I got so lucky because while I was in the city, I had so many opportunities to do internships with all of these great, amazing places. And I wasn't applying to any of them. So my dad decided to put the hammer down one day when we were having brunch together and said, you're not doing anything with your life. I get that you're in college. Yeah, you're taking all these classes. Get a damn internship. And for me, I was like, what the hell is this man talking about? He flunked out of college. He has no idea what I'm going through. He has no idea the work I'm putting in. What the fuck is this? I have no time. But I got so mad at him that I got up and I left and I went to my dorm room and I applied for an internship with Z100 in New York City. I don't know how I got so lucky to get the audition, to go talk to them and have an interview with them to get the internship, but I did, which all turned into the best moments of my life.
This is Elvis Duran in the Morning Show.
I got to intern with Elvis Duran in the Morning Show, and that's when I really, truly 100% fell in love with radio. I was like, oh my God, this is it. This is what I want. Doing my own show in college is amazing, and I loved that. But like, this is what I want to do every day. I want to come in. I want to tell stupid stories. I want to make people laugh. I want to connect with people. I want this so bad. This is all I want. So at that point, it was buckling down and figuring out how I was going to make that a reality. Getting on air isn't the easiest thing to do in the radio industry. Everybody wants to do it. So you're fighting everybody. Literally every single person that you have ever met, you are basically in competition with, but like a friendly competition. It's all fun and games, you know, to an extent, I guess. You're in this massive competition and that's all you want to do. And you're trying the best that you can to get your on-air slot. And it just doesn't work. You know, you get jobs doing other random things within the industry. I was a writer for a little while. I worked in our digital department for a little while. I was doing voiceover work for a little while, just anything that I could possibly do to keep myself in the building or active and within people's, like, shove myself in people's faces as much as humanly possible. And it took about 5.5 years until suddenly I got this opportunity to finally be on air full time.
Yeah.
It's all I ever wanted. I was so excited. It was going to be in Los Angeles, and I was just going to be able to leave. I was going to be able to experience new life. It was going to be a lot and also amazing all at the same time. I was so pumped. Went out to Los Angeles, lived my dream of being on air every day. I got to talk to everybody. I got to create new bits. I got to interview amazing artists and have conversations that I never dreamed that I would ever be able to have. Everything was going great. I was so comfortable at this point. I found a new clique of friends that I could connect with. My boyfriend, who we've been doing long distance with for a year at this point now, was about to move out to California and live with me in Los Angeles. I was like, oh my God, this is amazing. Everything's going to be fantastic. And then the pandemic hits. Pandemic hits and everybody starts talking about layoffs. My company, other radio companies, my friends are losing their jobs left and right. And I'm just waiting for the moment because at this point, I was the last person in, so I was going to be the first person out. And I knew it was coming. I felt it in my gut. You know that feeling that you get where you're like, oh my God, I don't want to be right about any of this. None of this, like this can't be correct, but holy crap, I can't shake this really fucked up feeling of like, where you want to throw up and poop at the same time. Because you're like, everything's going to go. Everything's going to go to shit. And I just feel it right now. And you're like anxious and you're just waiting for the moment. And every day you're like, all right, I got to keep doing my job because I got to keep kicking ass because I'm always going to kick ass no matter what. That's just who I am. So you got to go to work every day. And you're like, I'm going to lose my job today. But also, fuck it, I'm ready to work. So like you work and you work and you work and it hits that time period where you're like, okay, I didn't lose my job today. Cool. Maybe I have like 2 more days left. And every day it's like that because you know that it's coming. And it came, it happened, and I lost my job. I lost my job that I had waited 5.5 years to get, one that I worked for what felt like my entire life, which at this point I'm 29. So my entire adult life, at least, was dedicated to getting this job that I finally got my hands on. And just like that, it was fucking gone. And honestly, it was one of the most fucked up moments of my life for me mentally because I worked so hard for it. I had an idea of what it would be in my head. It turned into that idea. You touch it, you feel it, you live it, and then you don't know what to do when it's gone and you don't know where to go next. And you sit outside, and this is going to sound so dramatic, but you know, I remember sitting outside and looking out into like the distance of the lake that my dad lives on, because at this point I'm like, fuck, I got to move back home. I have no money. I'm going to have to leave Los Angeles. I got to come back home. And I'm sitting there in what was my old home and about to be my new home again. And just looking at the water thinking, what the hell am I going to do with myself? I don't know what else I'm even capable of doing. I don't know what else I can do. The only thing I've ever dedicated to my life to and myself to has been this. And now I don't know when that's going to be normal again because everybody's losing their jobs. And people who are far more talented than I am have lost their jobs. I'm never going to get a job again. This is going to be the worst experience of my life. I'm going to have to completely pivot everything and become something entirely different that I don't know what that would be. And I never wanted to be someone who didn't try the things that made her afraid. So part of me is like, you went out and you did the thing that scared the shit out of you, but you knew you loved. You left home. You did everything that you were supposed to do. You worked your fucking ass off and you did it. And then the other side of me is like, well, now I'm really fucking scared because I don't know what to do next. I don't know like where I would go from here. I don't know like what business I would start or what thing I would do next or where I would go. And that's when it hit me. I could do my podcast as my business.
Well, I'm Ricki.
I'm Jake.
And you're listening to 20-somethings doing nothing.
This is a weird day.
Yeah, well, every day's a little weird when it involves us. But yeah, today's extra special weird.
Yeah.
I guess you could say.
How you doing?
And I can just keep doing what I love and build this thing and create something that's mine entirely, which I had already done, but I took a break from to focus more on my quote unquote real job, as they'll call it, which is like so not the right way to call it, but you know what I mean? Everyone's like, your job, you know, that gives you healthcare and a 401k and all those things. And I went back to the podcast and I went back to being a businesswoman in a sense and taking everything on as my own and back to creating in a way that was entirely on me, which was also scary but liberating. Because when you're creating for a company, it's fun, it's great, but there are guidelines, there are rules, there are other people that are, inputting how they feel about your specific ideas and your thought process. For this, it was like, oh my gosh, it's me again. I get to do whatever the hell I want. And during those 8 months, 9 months, something like that, where I didn't have radio and all I had was my podcast, those were the most interesting 9 months of my life when it comes to like my adult life of navigating how everything's going to work.
Why did you feel the need to clean your toilet in the middle of doing something that you're supposed to be doing for work? Like, what hit you out of nowhere where you went, you know what really needs to be done right now? I really need to clean my toilet in this moment.
Because I got overwhelmed, and then when I get overwhelmed, I like to do anything other than the thing that I actually have to do.
Because, as an adult, you're like, oh, wow, I have bills I got to pay. I have ideas of things that I want for my future, like, maybe buying a house one day. But how are you supposed to do any of these things when you don't have a job and you don't have any money? But having the podcast was the biggest saving grace for me, having that outlet for me to continue to do the things that I love and to hone my skills and to create things and to have an outlet of talking about how I felt in those moments, knowing that there are so many other people who also probably felt those ways. All of the things that drew me into radio and made me love radio, I got to continue to do, but with my own business and my own podcast. And I truly don't know what the hell I would have done without it. I would have been absolutely lost. So I was only about half lost thanks to it. And everything ended up miraculously working out in the end because I remembered how much I loved the podcast. I remember how much I love having my own entity, my own creative space, my own baby that I can call my own. I then got another job on radio. And I got very lucky, but I get to keep the podcast this time because I learned from last time how important this was to me to keep doing it, to hold on to that and to have that own thing that's like mine. Like, this is mine. I created this. I get to do whatever I want with it now. So I guess in the end, everything kind of worked out, but it got real hard at times. It got really hard. It got really mentally draining. Absolutely exhausting. You doubt yourself. You question yourself more than you ever have. You have so many internal battles with yourself. But I think the main thing is to always remember what makes you you. And that's not always your job. That's not always what you do, but more so what makes you you is the way that you handle situations that aren't easy.